I had been in a relationship with Julian King for 3 years, but he still refused to propose to me. Later, he fell in love with my stepsister at first sight and began pursuing her openly and aggressively. This time I didn't cry. I didn't wait silently like before, hoping he'd get tired and come back. Instead, I threw away all the gifts he had given me, shredded the wedding dress I had secretly bought, and on his birthday, I left the King family alone. Just before boarding the plane, Julian suddenly sent me a message on WeChat. "Why aren't you here yet? Everyone's waiting for you." I smiled faintly, didn't reply, and blocked him on all platforms. He didn't know that just 2 weeks ago I had accepted the proposal of my college senior, Andrew Gu. Once the plane landed in the new city, we would be getting married. "Andrew, I've made up my mind," I said, standing in front of the mirror, looking at my pale and frail reflection. Turns out making such an important life decision wasn't as difficult as I thought. "Susie, will you accept my proposal?" Andrew's deep voice came through the phone. My heart suddenly tightened as tears fell. I gently nodded. "Yes, Susie, do you know? I've been waiting for this day since college," he said. In the mirror, I didn't know when the corners of my lips had started to curl into a faint smile. "Wait for me 2 more weeks. I'll finish everything on my end." "Okay, Andrew, I'll be waiting for you." Just after we hung up, the door to my room was suddenly pushed open from the outside. "Susie." My dad cleared his throat awkwardly. "Your sister's not feeling well. Your room faces the sun. Why don't you two switch rooms for a few days?" I didn't respond. My gaze landed on my stepmother and my stepsister, Lily King, standing behind him. My stepmother quickly said, "Oh, there's no need to trouble Susie, old Chen." Lily chimed in softly. "Yeah, Dad, I'm fine. Please don't upset Susie because of me." "What do you mean trouble?" "You're my daughter too," Dad replied. Then he turned to me, his tone stern. "Susie, you're the older sister. Be more understanding." I looked straight at my father. I thought I'd feel devastated, that I'd cry because my biological father loved a girl with no blood ties more than me. But I didn't shed a single tear. I even smiled and nodded at them. Sure, I'll switch. There were only 2 weeks left until I would leave this place forever. It didn't matter what room I stayed in anymore. Dad looked pleased with how understanding I was, and my stepmother also smiled contentedly. After they left, Lily didn't go. "Susie, let me help you pack," she offered sweetly, standing obediently in front of me. But as she glanced around the room, I could see the unmistakable gleam of satisfaction in her eyes. "I didn't expect Dad would actually let us switch rooms," she said. "Susie, are you mad at me? After all, I just stole Julian from you, and now I've taken the room you've lived in for 10 years. I didn't want to respond and turned to get my suitcase. Suddenly, Lily let out a loud ow and fell hard to the floor. Her arm had hit the corner of the desk, and a big bruise was already forming. "Susie Chen, what are you doing?" I hadn't even noticed when Julian came upstairs. He had arrived just in time to see Lily fall. His face darkened and he quickly rushed over, carefully scooping her into his arms. "Julian, I'm okay. It wasn't Suze's fault," Lily said tearfully, forcing a smile through the pain. "It doesn't hurt, really." "How can it not hurt?" Julian said, staring at the bruise on her pale arm, his eyes full of concern. But when he looked at me, his gaze instantly turned cold and sharp, like it carried the chill of snow. "Susie Chen, if you have a problem, take it out on me. Don't hurt Lily. She's already pitiful enough. Unlike you, born with a silver spoon in your mouth, pampered since birth, never knowing the hardships of life." I thought my emotions could no longer be affected by him. I really believed I wouldn't shed another tear over Julian King. But in the end, I was just an ordinary girl. I didn't have an iron heart, nor was I made of steel. The boy I grew up with, the man I loved for 3 years, had fallen for a younger, softer girl in just a few days and turned me into some vicious, venomous monster. I didn't want to cry. I even wanted to laugh, but the tears were already swelling in my eyes. "Julian King, we've known each other for so many years. Don't you know what kind of person I am?" His brows furrowed slightly. His gaze fell on my face, and for a second, it looked like something in his expression began to waver. but then Lily suddenly burst into tears. "Julian, don't fight with Susie because of me. It's okay. She has every right to be mad at me." She cried softly like someone who had been deeply wronged. Julian's gaze toward me turned completely cold. "You're just jealous. Jealous that I love Lily, that I treat her well, that everyone cares about her. Susie Chen, you're not who you used to be. You've become twisted, haven't you?" After he finished, he turned and walked away with Lily. I stood there watching their backs as they disappeared. And that's when I realized my tears had dried up without me even noticing. Maybe that was a good thing. I had already cried too many times over Julian these past few days. Maybe from now on, I really wouldn't let him break my heart again. That night, our mutual friends group chat suddenly exploded with activity. Julian posted, "Suddenly feel like getting married. What should I do?" The chat instantly blew up. "Julian, are you finally going to marry Susie? Time to call her sister-in-law. Congrats, sis-in-law. When's the wedding? Are we getting a big red envelope? Julian, when are you inviting us to your wedding banquet with Susie?" Messages kept flooding in. I was about to reply to clear things up that I wasn't the so-called sister-in-law and that Julian's sudden desire to get married had nothing to do with me, but he beat me to it. "What nonsense are you all talking about? I never said the person I want to marry is Susie Chen." Then he added Lily King into the group and tagged everyone. "Look closely, everyone. This is your real sister-in-law." The once lively group chat instantly fell silent. No one said a word for a long while. Julian broke the silence again. "What's wrong? Say hi to your new sister-in-law." One by one, a few people began awkwardly greeting Lily in the chat. I thought for a moment, then still sent a message. "Congratulations. Wishing you both a long and happy life together." Right after sending it, I quietly exited the group. Not even a minute later, Julian called me. "Susie Chen, come here right now. You know the place, our old spot." "Why? What for?" I asked. Apologized to Lily. "Why should I? You suddenly left the group. Do you know how that makes her look in front of our friends?" His tone was cold and commanding. "I don't want people bad-mouthing Lily. I'm the one who likes her. I want to give her a proper title. She's innocent? She shouldn't be labeled a homewrecker just because of your impulsiveness." I thought I had long stopped letting him shake my emotions, but in that moment I was so angry my chest hurt. My fingers trembled around the phone and my voice quivered when I spoke. "Julian King, how can you treat me like this? What gives you the right to bully me like this? You were the one who was unfaithful. I didn't do anything. I even congratulated you. Wasn't that enough?" I fought hard to hold back my tears, but my voice still carried a sob. There was a long pause on the other end before he said, "Susie Chen, this time I'll let it go. But I hope you remember Lily is innocent. Don't take your anger out on her. Don't hurt her." The call ended. I sat there on the carpet, my whole body trembling. On the nightstand by the bed, my mother's photo gazed at me with warmth and love. Suddenly, my tears came pouring down like rain. I threw myself onto the framed photo, hugging it tightly. Pressing my face against the cold glass, I wept uncontrollably. It felt like the mother in the photo was mourning with me, heartbroken for her daughter. I didn't want to cry anymore. I didn't want my mother, wherever she was, to see me so sad. Once her Memorial Day passed, I would leave this city with the few keepsakes she left me and never come back. Lily moved into my room. I didn't take hers. Instead, I just found a random guest room and stayed there. The blanket the housekeeper prepared for me was damp and cold. I just pulled it over myself and forced myself to sleep. It was only a few more days. I just had to hold on a little longer, and then all of this would finally be over. But the next morning, as soon as I got up and went downstairs, I saw the altar in the side hall where my mom's photo and offerings had been completely trashed. Her photo had been thrown to the floor, the frame shattered. The image was covered with scuffed footprints. Her smiling face now seemed like it was looking at me in agony. Offerings were scattered everywhere, and Lily's dog was chewing on them. Lily stood to the side, clapping her hands and cheering. I stood frozen in place, feeling all the blood rush to my head, every shred of reason, Every effort to stay calm vanished like a mad woman. I grabbed a vase and smashed it at the dog. The dog ran away in fear. Lily shrieked, her scream piercing as a shard from the shattered vase cut her arm. "Susie, what are you doing? How could you raise your hand against your own sister?" Dad's voice rang out just as Lily cried and threw herself into his arms. "Dad, help me! Susie's trying to kill me." "You've gone too far, Susie," Dad shouted. "Can't you see what happened?" She threw away Mom's offerings. She ruined Mom's photo. My whole body trembled. Tears poured down uncontrollably. I was heartbroken and outraged for my mother. But Dad only glanced at the mess on the floor, frowned slightly, and said, "Even so, you shouldn't have gotten physical. You hurt someone, Susie." "Dad!" I cried. "Mom's been gone for so long already. What matters more, a dead person or a living one?" he said, his tone cold and dismissive. Lily stood there with a pale face and whispered, "Dad, my dog accidentally knocked over the offerings." I wanted to apologize to Susie, but as soon as she came downstairs, she attacked me. I didn't even get the chance to explain. She smashed a vase at me. She lifted her bleeding arm and looked at Dad pitifully. Maybe Mom and I should just move out. You're just a dog." "You don't know any better," Dad said. Then he turned to glare at me. "But what about you? Don't you know better?" Suddenly, he raised his hand and slapped me hard across the face. I was so stunned I didn't even dodge. For a brief moment, he seemed startled too. But in the end, he didn't say a word. He just turned around and walked off with Lily to tend to her wound. I stared at their retreating backs for a long time before I even registered the burning pain on my cheek. I raised my hand to touch the swelling, and as my tears fell, I laughed bitterly. I understood now. There was no place for me in this house anymore. In the middle of the night, I was suddenly awakened by screams and crying. As soon as I sat up in bed, my door was kicked open from the outside. My stepmother stormed in, crying. Before I could even react, she slapped me hard across the face. "How could you be so cruel? It wasn't enough to hurt her in the daytime. Now you want to kill her too?" She collapsed into my dad's arms, sobbing hysterically. She knows Lily is allergic to peaches. And yet, she deliberately poured peach juice all over her bed and pillows. She's trying to kill our daughter. It's okay now. Don't cry. Luckily, Lily took her medicine in time. It's nothing serious. Dad gently comforted her while glancing at me with suppressed anger. "Susie, you've really let me down. You need to move out tomorrow. Keeping you in this house is only going to bring chaos to the entire family." My stepmother's sobbing quieted instantly. I looked at the man in front of me. He was once the person I was closest to in this world. He used to love me dearly. I was his only daughter. His pride and joy the apple of his eye. But everything changed. I felt like a character out of a tragic novel. The heroine whose destiny was stolen. Left with nothing. At first, I didn't understand. I cried, I resisted. I fought for my place. But now I've finally woken up. The bond between father and daughter, it was completely broken. The day I moved out of the Chen family home, my dad told me, "Once your mother's memorial is over, I'll bring you back home." I didn't answer. After they left, I carefully cut up and burned every photo I had with Julian King and with my dad. Finally, I shredded the wedding dress I had bought 3 years ago. I had bought it in secret after Julian confessed his love for me. It was the dress I had dreamed about since I was a teenager, the one that made me look most like a princess. But now I destroyed it with my own hands. Next came the gifts Julian had given me over the past 3 years. There were quirky little trinkets and also expensive jewelry. I picked out the valuable ones and asked my best friend to keep them for me. After I left the King family, she would return them to Julian on my behalf. Only then would we truly owe each other nothing. As for the worthless little things, the ones meant to make me smile, I didn't hesitate. I packed them all up to throw away. I once treasured even a tiny keychain. But now, when I was about to discard it, I felt nothing at all. After all that, I carefully wrapped up my mother's photo and tucked it securely into the compartment of my suitcase. Without looking back, I left the house I had lived in for 10 years. Just as I stepped out the front gate, Julian's car pulled up. I didn't even glance at it, but the car suddenly stopped beside me. The back window rolled down, revealing his handsome, refined face. My eyes barely swept past him and my steps didn't falter. Susie Chen. Julian's voice was slightly off. Where are you going? Dragging 2 large suitcases, I was already struggling to walk. I had no energy to chat with him, no reason to stop, so I didn't respond and kept walking. But Julian suddenly got out of the car. Do you want me to have the driver take you? No, thank you. I sidestepped his outstretched hand and kept walking. Julian grabbed my wrist. Susie Chen, why are you so stubborn this time? If you cry a little like you used to, maybe I'll soften up again. I yanked my hand away and looked at him calmly. Julian King, there's no need anymore. No need to cry. No need for you to soften up again and again. I'm tired. I'm done. Fine. Do whatever you want, Julian said with a twisted smile, but I could see the disbelief in his eyes. After all, no matter how hurt I was in the past, I always waited for him to come back silently and willingly. He was used to it. Everyone around him said I'd never leave him, and he believed it without question. As I dragged my suitcase away, I heard Lily's sweet, gentle voice. Julian, you're here. She rushed over and clung to his arm tightly, pressing half her body against him. Are your allergies better? Julian brushed the hair from her forehead and examined her carefully. Much better. Lily lifted her face with a smile. Lily smiled sweetly, her eyes curving into crescent moons. Julian, don't be mad at Susie, she said softly, giving his arm a gentle shake. It's really my fault for being so weak. If I weren't in such poor health, Dad wouldn't have asked me to switch rooms with her. And then she wouldn't have gotten upset and taken it out on me. How could this be your fault? Julian said, his tone protective. She's the one who's petty and narrow-minded. He shot me a glance, then deliberately pulled Lily into his arms. Let's go inside. Your face is just starting to get better. Don't let the wind make it worse. Okay, Lily replied with a nod. I watched them walk away, their bodies pressed close like conjoined shadows. They were inseparable, affectionate, but my heart felt like the surface of a still lake. Not a single ripple stirred. After Mom's Memorial Day passed, Dad never came to bring me home like he said he would. And just like that, Julian's birthday arrived. If it were any other year, I would have prepared his gift weeks in advance, spent days booking the perfect restaurant, and meticulously decorated the entire venue for his party. But this time I hadn't bought him anything. I wasn't going to celebrate for him ever again. At 5:00 p.m., I was on the way to the airport when messages started coming in one after another. Dad was texting too. Why aren't you here yet? Your Aunt Lily and I are already here. Susie, you need to be more gracious. Julian's going to be family soon. If you don't show up, what will people think? They might assume there's something wrong between you and your sister. I found it laughable. I didn't reply to a single message. Instead, I blocked his number completely. Just as I was about to board the plane, a Wechathat message came through. It was from Julian. Why aren't you here yet? Everyone's waiting for you. I smiled, said nothing, then blocked every way he could contact me and walked straight into the boarding gate without once looking back. At 7:00 p.m., the birthday party still hadn't officially started. Julian sat on the sofa, casually flipping a lighter in his hand. His expression was calm, but every so often he would glance at the time. Then check his phone. Julian. Lily bit her lip and tugged at his sleeve. It's getting late. Everyone's hungry. He looked at her and smiled, but the smile didn't reach his eyes. You're hungry, huh? He pinched her cheek teasingly. I'm starving. Can't wait to eat the cake. Lily giggled and leaned herself completely into his arms. Julian caught a faint but very familiar scent. He paused for a moment, then asked quietly, What perfume are you wearing? I just grabbed one from the vanity at home, Lily said, a little unsure. Why does it smell bad? Julian shook his head. No, it's nice, but it was the same perfume Susie always used. He just couldn't recall the brand right now. While everyone laughed and started the usual cake fight, Julian stepped out to the terrace with a cigarette. His phone remained silent. Not a single notification. It was so quiet. He remembered Susie once promised she'd never miss any of his birthdays again. but she had broken that promise so quickly. Julian narrowed his eyes. His lips curled into a cold sneer. Susie Chen, are you dead or something? Can't even reply to a message. He hit send, but the message failed. A red exclamation mark popped up on the screen. Bold and glaring. She had blocked him. Without a moment of hesitation, Julian immediately tried to call me. But the line wouldn't go through. He stood on the terrace, staring into the heavy darkness in the distance, feeling a nameless fury spreading through his chest. He was the one who didn't want me. He was the one who found someone new. He was the one who grew tired of me and didn't want me clinging to him anymore. And now everything had gone exactly as he wanted. Yet somehow it wasn't as satisfying as he'd imagined. After arriving in the new city, I didn't contact Andrew right away. Instead, I met up with my closest college friend, Sierra. I wanted to share my secret with her, but I hadn't yet figured out how to bring it up. What I didn't expect was to run into Andrew at the welcome dinner Sierra had arranged for me. He was standing at the private room's entrance in a sleek black business suit, his coat of the same color draped over one arm. The soft light behind him cast intricate shadows on the vibrant mural behind him, painting a dreamlike scene. But even so, it felt like everything around him existed, only to highlight his presence. After all these years, he looked even more handsome and composed than he had back in college. And now he wasn't just an old classmate. He was my fiancé, my cheeks flushed red. I lowered my eyes, nervously gripping the lace trim of my dress, even breaking into a light sweat on my back. Sierra, on the other hand, was brimming with excitement. Andrew, what a surprise. What brings you here? I had a business dinner nearby, he said casually. Saw some familiar faces, so I figured I'd invite myself over. As he spoke, his eyes fell on me. He paused for a few seconds before slowly continuing. Hope the old classmates don't mind me crashing. Of course not, someone shouted. Are you kidding? We'd never turn you away. Everyone was thrilled to see him, enthusiastically waving him in. You're always welcome here. Andrew smiled and stepped inside. Then I won't be polite. He took the seat directly across from me. Classmates began greeting him one after another, making small talk. I, however, kept my head down the whole time, not daring to meet his eyes. But it seemed like Andrew had no intention of letting me off the hook. Susie, it's been a while, he said with a smile. Hearing my name suddenly called, I instinctively looked up right into Andrew's calm, slightly smiling eyes. My face flushed all over again, heat rushing up my neck. It took me a few seconds to gather myself before I stood, raised my glass, and said, It's been a long time, Andrew. Yes, it has, he replied, holding my gaze as we clinked kid glasses. Only then did he take a sip. I took a small sip of the strong, spicy wine and slowly sat down again. As I did, Sierra tugged at my sleeve and shot me a mischievous look. Something's definitely going on between you two, babe. What do you mean? Since the moment he walked in, his eyes haven't left your face. You must be seeing things. Please, you forget who I am. I'm like a gossip radar with built-in X-ray vision. If there's even a little romantic tension between a man and a woman, I can spot it instantly. I bit my lip trying to study my heartbeat. It was pounding wildly out of control. After college, I had returned to Capital City with Julian, and I hadn't seen Andrew since. Other than a few holiday greetings on WeChat, we had no contact at all. It wasn't until Julian started openly courting Lily that Andrew suddenly reached out to me. Up until now, we had only spoken a few times on the phone. This was our first time seeing each other face to face since I agreed to marry him. We hadn't even held hands yet, but the way Sierra talked, it was like we were all ready. Then one of the girls suddenly asked, Andrew, do you have a girlfriend? I have this gorgeous cousin. Want me to introduce you to? The room instantly filled with laughter and teasing. The atmosphere buzzed with excitement. Not one to be outdone, Sierra chimed in. Andrew, if you're still single, what about our Susie, huh? She's gorgeous, sweet, and has an amazing figure. Graduated from a top school just like you. Don't they make the perfect match? I was so nervous and embarrassed that I felt like my face was about to burst into flames. Amid the teasing and laughter, Andrew's calm voice suddenly cut through the noise. That's enough, Sierra. Don't make fun of Susie, she's a bit shy. You guys lay off. Sierra made a playful face at him. A senior's getting protective of his junior now. Andrew just smiled but didn't deny it. I snuck a glance at him, and he happened to be looking at me too. My cheeks flushed again, and I quickly lowered my head. That's when my phone lit up with a message. Andrew Goo, wait for me after dinner. I'll drive you. Me? Okay. I didn't reply again, but my heart was pounding uncontrollably. When the dinner ended, I waited for Andrew in the brightly lit hotel lobby downstairs. That's when someone from the King family circle suddenly called me. Susie, what have you been up to lately? Haven't seen you around. Just been busy dealing with some personal stuff. Want to hang out with us tonight? I gave a polite smile. You guys go ahead. Wait, don't hang up yet. Actually, this is about Julian. He's in a really bad mood tonight. Got drunk and won't listen to anyone. If he keeps drinking like this, he might end up in the hospital again with a bleeding ulcer. You should call Lily. Julian kicked Lily out just now, the voice said with a sigh. We all know he still has feelings for you, Susie. He regrets it. Stop, I said, my tone flat. Julian and I have broken up. His life has nothing to do with me anymore, and I'd appreciate it if you didn't call me again. The moment I finished speaking, I heard a burst of noise like the phone had been snatched from someone's hand. I was about to hang up when Julian's voice came through. Susie, it wasn't my idea to call you. They did it on their own. I had nothing to do with it. Same old arrogance. Same cold pride. Then I'm hanging up, I said. Susie. He called my name again. This time his voice carried a weight I hadn't heard in a long time. If this had been before, I might have felt sorry for him. I would have nagged him gently, told him not to drink too much, but now everything about him had nothing to do with me anymore. I hung up. After a moment, I went ahead and deleted all of Julian's close friends from my contacts. I had only gotten to know them through him. Now that we were truly over, there was no need to stay in touch with any of them. Susie. In the dazzling light of the lobby, Andrew was standing not far ahead, bathed in warm glow. His handsome face looked even more soft and dreamlike under the lighting. Andrew? I had just gotten up when he started walking toward me. Maybe it was the alcohol, but his steps were unsteady. I hurried over to support him. Are you okay? Did you drink too much? Are you feeling sick? He gave a small nod. Just a bit of a headache. He furrowed his brows, his face slightly tense with pain. Susie, my car is outside. Can you help me to it? Of course. I'll walk you out. Andrew was much taller than me, and even though it was just a short distance, we staggered the whole way there. When we reached the car, I lost my balance and accidentally fell right into his arms. The faint scent of wine mixed with the warmth of his signature sandalwood cologne wrapped around me like a wave. Flustered, I tried to sit up, but Andrew held me tight. Susie, just let me hold you for a little while. Okay, Andrew, I'm not dreaming, right? You're Susie Chen, aren't you? He suddenly cupped my face, holding me gently. At such a close distance, our breaths tangled and clung to each other in the narrow space between us. In his slightly tipsy eyes, I saw confusion, disbelief, yearning, and a sorrow I couldn't describe. It felt like someone had reached into my chest and crumpled my heart with their bare hands. Bittersweet pain surged through my chest. Andrew, you're not dreaming. It's me. I'm Susie Chen. Before I could finish, his warm lips pressed softly against mine. It was a kiss, gentle, feather-light, and filled with tenderness. I hadn't even processed what had just happened when Andrew released me. He must have seen the nervousness and confusion in my eyes, or maybe caught the flicker of hesitation I couldn't hide. He took my hand and gently guided me to sit down properly in the seat. The car had already started moving. Andrew pressed the button to raise the divider between us and the driver, sealing us in a quiet, enclosed space that made me even more anxious. But then he let go of my hand. Don't be afraid, Susie. I would never do anything to you in a place like this. He reached out and brushed a few strands of hair from my temple. I'll wait patiently until our wedding night. My head lowered again and my face burned bright red. After a while, I finally looked at him and softly said, Okay. Julian King was drunk again. No matter how his friends tried to stop him, he wouldn't listen. He couldn't quite figure out what was making him feel so low these past few days. Maybe it was the moment he realized he'd grown bored of Lily, that she wasn't all that special after all. Or maybe it was that he had started to miss Suze's gentleness, her calm and understanding presence. Last time his friends called Susie, it had actually been with his silent approval. But she kept refusing on the other end of the line, and something in him snapped. He'd grabbed the phone and blurted out those words in anger. She didn't say a single thing, just quietly hung up. She hadn't come to see him. She didn't try to bring him home. Even when she knew he had drunk too much and might not be able to handle it physically, she remained indifferent. Julian didn't want to admit it, but in that moment he panicked a little. Still, he quickly tried to reassure himself. Susie had loved him for so long. They had been together for 3 years, not 3 days or 3 months. He knew exactly how much she had invested in the relationship. She must be heartbroken, must still resent him. That's why she was acting like this. But to say she was truly letting go, that she didn't care at all, Julian didn't believe it. "Julian, are you trying to drink yourself to death?" One of his friends scolded, grabbing the bottle away. "Do you know how worried we've all been about you? We just called Lily. She's on her way to take you home. Come on, stop drinking already." At the mention of Lily's name, Julian suddenly felt an overwhelming wave of disgust. He shoved his friend aside and slammed the bottle to the ground, shattering it. "Who told you to call her?" "Did I ask you to?" "She's your girlfriend." "Who else are we supposed to call?" "She's not my damn girlfriend." Julian sneered. "You really don't know who my girlfriend is." His friends looked at each other confused. "Julian, had you forgotten you and Susie already broke up?" "Yeah. You even told us in the group chat to start calling Lily your fiancé. Before Susie left the group, she even congratulated you two. Aren't you and Lily about to get engaged?" "We're not getting engaged," Julian said flatly, then waved for someone to open a new bottle. "Julian, seriously, you can't keep drinking like this." "You really think I'm going to listen to you?" "No, you never listened to us." One of them said, "The only person you ever listened to was Susie. If she were here, you would have gone home with her without a fuss. You wouldn't be here drinking yourself into the hospital." Julian didn't respond, but he didn't deny it either. His friend finally pulled out his phone. "Fine, I'm calling Susie right now. If you won't listen to even her, then there's nothing else we can do." But what none of them expected was that the call didn't go through. Every friend in the room tried once. Susie had blocked and deleted all of their numbers. The air seemed to freeze over. Julian sat on the couch, his gaze heavy with frost. Maybe she's just too angry." "Yeah, Julian," someone added. "After all, you were the one who ended things so decisively and then started dating the girl who's technically her stepsister. Anyone would feel hurt, even betrayed. She's been living alone lately." Another said, "My cousin saw her coming back from the cemetery on her mom's Memorial Day. Her eyes were so swollen. She'd clearly been crying." "Julian, maybe you should go to her apartment, talk to her." Julianne suddenly remembered the day Susie moved out of the Chen household. She left without turning her head, dragging 2 massive suitcases behind her. That house had been hers, her family. But then the home became Lily and her mother's territory, and their father, their shared father, became Lily's dad instead. And he had been so easily drawn to Lily's youth and sweetness. He abandoned Susie without hesitation. Now all Julian could see was the look Susie gave him that day. The final one. Calm, emotionless, not even the slightest ripple of feeling, as if he were just a stranger, someone insignificant passing through her life. He stood abruptly, ready to leave, only for the door to swing open. Lily stepped in. "Julian," she said softly, her voice as delicate as ever. Her large, pretty eyes shimmered with moisture, always on the verge of tears, always looking like someone had wronged her. "Why are you drinking so much again? You'll be complaining about a headache tomorrow," she chided gently, looping her arm through his. Julian was just about to speak when he caught a familiar scent. Faint, soft, but unmistakably familiar. His heart gave a sharp jolt. He was about to brush off her hand but stopped mid-motion. "What's that smell?" he asked, his tone suddenly soft. Lily blushed with excitement. "The same perfume as last time. she replied with a small smile. She nodded. Yes, it's still the same one. Her face lit up, but deep inside, resentment quietly crept in. She had taken that perfume from Suze's vanity. At first, she wanted to throw all of Suze's expensive, unopened designer perfumes away. But Julian only liked this scent. She had tried others, but he always seemed repulsed. So in the end, she held her nose and kept using the one Susie had loved. If you like it, I'll wear it every day, she said sweetly, tilting her head up, her gorgeous eyes filled with desire and longing. But Julian's face suddenly changed. A moment later, he shoved her away hard. Julien, Lily gasped, completely stunned. Everyone in the room turned equally shocked. Julian looked at her blankly. His tone was even calm, but everyone could feel the fury boiling just beneath his voice. Julian, what's wrong? Lily asked, trying again to hold his arm. This time, Julian raised his hand and slapped her across the face. Julian, you hit me! Lily clutched her cheek, tears welling in her eyes from the sting and the humiliation. Julian sneered coldly. Aren't you allergic to peaches, Lily? Didn't you cry to me saying Susie had someone smear peach juice on your bed to try to kill you? I am allergic. Dad knows too. He even found out it was Susie who told the maid to Julian, suddenly stepped forward and grabbed her by the collar. Towering over her, he nearly lifted her completely off the ground. Julian let go. I can't breathe. He stared down at her, his handsome face slowly twisting with rage. Lily, did you forget you're wearing Suze's favorite perfume? The one I bought for her over and over again. The one she wore every day. I didn't recognize it at first because I forgot so much. Julian let out a bitter laugh, one of self-mockery. He had forgotten too many things. He forgot how devoted Susie had been to him, how deeply she had loved him all these years. He had forgotten the 3 years of love and loyalty they had shared. He had forgotten how much he used to long for their happily ever after. Forgotten how. During their breakup, I had sat silently in front of him, crying without a sound, accepting everything with cold detachment. He forgot the girl he had once loved with all his heart. How kind and gentle I was. He forgot that I had once cherished him like he was everything. And yet, he discarded me without a second thought. He forgot too much. And that was why he was finally facing retribution. The middle notes of this perfume are white peach and gardenia, he said slowly. You said you were allergic to peaches, so how come you never had a reaction while using this perfume every day? Lily's eyes widened in shock. Her face went pale as death, like her soul had left her body. Her entire frame trembled uncontrollably. So it had all been a lie from the beginning. She had manipulated him, deceived me, and lied to Mr. Chen, too. Lily, Julian said coldly, I must have been blind to fall for someone as conniving and calculating as you. He let go of her with force, shoving her backward. Lily collapsed to the ground, limp and speechless. She opened her mouth to explain, but no words came. The perfume was real. The evidence was irrefutable. I'm going to tell everyone who you really are, Julian said. He looked down at her one last time, then turned and slammed the door behind him. His driver sped all the way to Suze's old apartment. When they arrived, the lights were off. Her window was dark. Maybe she had already gone to sleep. But Julian didn't want to give up. He just wanted to see her, to apologize in person, to beg for her forgiveness. He rang the doorbell over and over again. He knocked until his knuckles ached. But Susie never came to the door. Eventually, a neighbor fed up with the noise called the property management. That's when Julian found out Susie had moved out long ago. She had already asked the building to help sell the unit. Where had she gone? Was she still in the city? Would she ever come back? When? Julian had no answers. There was only one terrifying thought swirling in his mind, a fear so intense it felt like it would consume him from the inside out. He had lost Susie. Maybe he had lost her forever. All the lies and manipulations that Lily and her mother had used to smear and frame Susie finally came to light. Even the housekeepers at the Chen residence stepped forward to defend Susie and speak the truth. The day Lily and her mother were thrown out of the Chen estate, they were in complete disgrace like drowned rats, beaten and humiliated by everyone around them. Julian stood in the garden among a bed of withered begonia flowers. His eyes suddenly turned red. The gonis might bloom again after they wither, but some people, once they leave, they never come back. In recent days, Mr. Chen had tried repeatedly to get in touch with Susie, but every time the call connected and she heard their voices, she would hang up in silence. When she left the city, she not only took her mother's belongings, she also took all of the inheritance left to her. Now, the Chen family was nothing more than an empty shell, and they all knew she was never coming back. Not far off, there were angry voices, shouting, cursing, crying. It seemed that now, with their dream of wealth shattered, Lily and her mother finally revealed their true sharp-tongued and vicious natures. "Open your suitcases. We're inspecting the luggage," came the cold command. Standing on the steps was Mr. Chen. He looked tired and worn, like a man who had aged 10 years overnight. Julian looked at the old man, head bowed in shame, and realized he was just as pathetic, just as foolish. How absurd it all was that they had once driven away someone as good as Susie Chen. For women like that, this was karma. Swift, brutal karma. The mother and daughter refused to open the drooling on the ground in a fit of rage, but it was no use. Every single one of the dozens of massive suitcases was forced open, and beneath piles of neatly folded clothes were stacks of designer bags and luxury jewelry. Aside from their clothes, don't let them take anything else. Mr. Chen's face was dark with rage as he gave the order. The mother and daughter duo screamed and threw themselves forward, trying to snatch back the jewelry, but the bodyguards shoved them aside. Not only were the valuables in their suitcases seized, even the jewelry they wore on their bodies was stripped away. Lily fought so violently that her earlobe was torn. Blood dripped from her neck down to her chest, the sight horrifying. But the father, who had once doted on her, didn't even glance her way. He waved his hand like shooing away a pair of disgusting flies and ordered them to be thrown out. As they were dragged out the front gates, Lily still wouldn't give up. She clung to the gatepost, screaming harshly, "Julian, you can't do this to me. You can't. I'm pregnant. The baby is yours. You have to take responsibility." By the end, she had completely lost her mind, screaming like a woman possessed. Mr. Chen turned back and looked at Julian. Julian felt nothing but revulsion. He wanted to laugh, but he couldn't even bring himself to smile. How had he ever fallen for someone so despicable? "Mr. Chen," Julian said, stepping forward to face the older man whose hair had gone half white. "I never touched her. I swear I never laid a hand on her." "That's good. That's good." Mr. Chen let out a long, weary breath. He waved his hand again, and the bodyguards dragged the women out. The screaming and chaos finally faded into silence. The sun dipped low on the horizon, casting its final light over the vast estate. Both men stared quietly at the wilted bed of crab-apple blossoms in the garden. The crab-apple trees had gone dormant. No one knew when they'd bloom again. They were Suze's mother's favorite flowers. After her passing, Susie had lovingly tended to them. But now Susie was gone too, and the flowers, sensitive as they were, had withered with the coming of spring. Mr. Chen wiped his tears. "I failed Susie, I failed her mother. I failed them both." He choked up. "Julian, I lost my mind. I promised her mother I would take care of Susie, love her like my own. But I broke that promise. Do you think I'll pay the price for that? How hurt she must have been. How wrong she must have felt." He looked up again. "Julian, the photo of Suze's mother has been repaired. I'll have the entire house renovated. Do you think Susie will come home?" Julian didn't know. Maybe deep down he did know the answer, but it wasn't one he wanted to admit. Under the heavy dusk, he forced himself to hold back his sorrow. "Mr. Chen, Susie has always had a soft heart." He couldn't finish the sentence. They both knew. They knew exactly what kind of person Susie was. And yet back then, they had treated her so cruelly, so heartlessly, as if under some inexplicable spell. They had driven her away and hurt her so deeply. My wedding to Andrew was held the following spring. Just like we promised when we were young, my best friend Sierra was my one and only bridesmaid. I didn't send invitations to anyone back in Capital City. Not a single relative or old friend. But somehow, the news still got out. On the day of the wedding, my father and Julian both showed up. Andrew came to ask me how I wanted to handle it. The makeup artist was applying my makeup. I instinctively looked up and saw myself in the mirror, my reflection alongside the man who would soon become my husband. The bridal makeup was heavier than usual, making me look different than I did on ordinary days. But in that mirror, I looked like one of the blooming crabapple blossoms Andrew had planted just for me in our future home. Shy, radiant, yet quietly stunning, and standing beside me in his sleek black tuxedo, Andrew looked impossibly handsome. We exchanged a look. In that brief moment, there was a shared smile in both our eyes. "I don't want to see them," I said softly. Andrew didn't hesitate. He nodded. "Okay, I'll have someone ask them to leave." Good. Even now, I had no desire to see them again. Some scars once left in the heart might fade slowly over time. But in this life, some ties are too thin to hold on to, and I no longer wanted to force myself to keep holding on. Once everything was in place, I stepped onto the stage in my white wedding dress, bouquet in hand. Andrew couldn't even wait for me to reach him. He reached out his hand, eager to take mine. I reached out to him, too, and in the chorus of blessings, surrounded by the sound of laughter and joy, our hands finally clasped tightly together. Andrew leaned down and kissed me, completely oblivious to anyone else around us. The kiss was long, so long that I felt like I might forget how to breathe. Only then did he finally pull away. When the wedding ring slid onto my finger, he leaned close and whispered in my ear, "Susie, I love you. I've loved you for a long, long time, and I'll love you for a long, long time after." I looked up at him, smiling with eyes that shimmered with tears. "Andrew, I'll try my best to love you too. To love you well." He pulled me into his arms, gentle and full of warmth. Okay. That day, the wedding was lavish and grand, but even more than that, it was romantic. Julian and Mr. Chen never stepped a single foot into the ceremony. Yet neither of them chose to leave. Mr. Chen didn't make it to the end of the wedding. Midway through, he had a sudden heart attack and had to be rushed to the hospital. He was saved, but remained in a coma. Julian, on the other hand, stayed until the end. For some reason, Sierra, my best friend, had never blocked him. And because of that, Julian saw almost every photo and video of the entire wedding through her social media feed. He had already known before the wedding that Susie's groom was Andrew, her senior from college, exceptionally talented. He remembered praising the guy once back when he and Susie were still at Maki. He'd gotten jealous every time Andrew's name came up. Eventually, Susie stopped mentioning him. She even went out of her way to keep her distance from Andrew. Yet in the end, despite everything, she had still married him. As a man, Julian could see it with just one glance how deeply Andrew loved her. In every photo, every clip, the way Andrew looked at Susie, it was filled with devotion and focus. Julian saw his old self in those eyes. He had once loved Susie like that until he thought he'd grown tired of her until a younger girl stole his attention and tempted him away. Until he lost her, and when he finally woke up realized what he'd had. It was already too late. Andrew's carried her away. Were they going home to their new place now? Julian couldn't put into words the bitterness and ache in his chest. He had heard they'd planted a whole garden of crabapple blossoms at their new home too. And now, in the full bloom of spring, it must be the most beautiful time of year. Those flowers must be blooming just as stunningly as she did. On the drive back to Capital City, Julian crossed a highway bridge late at night. There wasn't a single soul on the road. He floored the gas pedal, pushing the car to its limit, then suddenly turned the wheels sharply and shut his eyes. The speeding vehicle slammed hard into the railing, and after the crash, everything went quiet. The crabapple trees would bloom again, but they would now bloom in someone else's garden. If there was a next life, Julian wished he could go back to the year Susie had just gotten out of grief when they first met. And this time he would love her the right way.